The story begins with this car on the highway, and this boy was playing a video game on his phone. His father told him to get off his phone, but he was not listening and still playing video games. And so his mother told him to listen to his father because it was talking to him and he should at least answer. He bet his dad regrets having a weak, pathetic son like him, and his mother said that if the other kids bully him and hit him in the new school too, then he just quit. And his mother told him that she wanted him to live a life he felt more comfortable living, but he was telling in his mind that his mother was telling a lie and his mother was the one who made them move so that he could transfer when he said he wanted to quit at the school. While he was thinking, he lost in his video game and asked if he should just kill himself. He was going to his new school and he wanted to run away. He was in the classroom introducing himself to everyone. And he was Lee Gilsoo and he came from Seoul, and he was the main character of our story for today. He wished time would stop and wished nothing bad would happen. Everybody was clapping for him and welcoming him as the new student of the campus. This guy on the front said to his friend that they finally had a Seoul person in their class and the atmosphere was very different for them. He was sitting on the corner and the guy called him. He was so nervous and thinking that he would be bullied again. The guy touched his shoulder and introduced himself to him and told him that they will go to the convenience store together, and they will show him around the school on the way too. And he was really shocked, and it was his first time going to a convenience store with someone as friends. His new friend asked him what he thought, and he had never seen eyebrows like that, and he answered that he thought it was charming in its own way, and he didn't expect that kind of question. And he was asking himself what kind of school it was. Everyone looked so happy and maybe he can also be happy too. While he was walking, drinking some juice, he bumped into someone and the guy's uniform got tainted. And so he said sorry to the guy and told it that he will give him the money to get it cleaned and wanted the guy to come to his classroom later. But the man said that it was fine and tapped him on his shoulder and said that he appreciated his offer though and smiled at him. He was looking at the guy and said that it was really kind and guessed that maybe he can have a normal life there. The vibes at his school were definitely different from his old school, and everyone was so nice and sweet. And he was worried for no reason at all and he was glad that he had moved. His new friend called him and asked him if he does have any plans on that day, and he answered that he doesn't. And his friend said that it was good and asked if he wanted to go somewhere with him, and he answered that he would. They were walking on the street and he felt like they had been walking for a while and asked himself where they were going. And so he asked his friend where they were going and he felt like they'd been walking for a long time. And his friend answered that he wanted to show him the place and he had to go there when he was new to the school. He was a little bit worried and asked himself if he had to, and now he was thinking about it. They were getting farther from the inner city, and abruptly his friend asked if he had ever done boxing or something similar. And he answered that not really, and his friend said if that was so, then he was gonna need some balls for this. And suddenly told him to hurry and they were almost there. Gilsoo didn't notice earlier, but his new friend had scars all over his arms, and he remembered something when he was being bullied in his old school and he was very nervous. And so he said to his friend sorry and he thought that he had to leave and they will come there another time. But his new friend grabbed him by the shoulder and told him that they were almost there, and just come take a look real quick if he was busy and he was sure that he would enjoy it too. He let his friend take him away like a helpless idiot. And he thought that it was just all a lie, the kindness, all the sweet smiles, and he was just going to be bullied again. And when he opened his eyes, he saw many students shouting and 2 students were fighting. And he was really shocked, and he was asking what it was. And his friend said that it was their school's fighting arena, and it was the biggest privilege permitted to just their school's students. And suddenly a guy asked who he was, and his new friend answered that he was transferred to his class today. And Gilsoo was saying in his mind that the guy really looked scary and asked if it was really a high school student. And this guy called his friend and said that he had been waiting for him, and he will make him regret making fun of his eyebrows. And his friend told it to wait and he will be right there. The guy came closer to him and said that it was nice meeting him, and said that he was Jang, the student council president of 6 Gates High, and welcomed him to their school. And he said hello to Jang and said in his mind that it was really huge. Everybody was shouting and he was asking why they were fighting and he thought they were friends. And abruptly Jang shouted to everyone that this year's freshmen aren't bad, and he was asking again who the guy really was. And Jang told him that it was the true face of their school, and he doesn't know if he noticed, but their school doesn't have bullies. However, they do have violence, it's just confined to the arena there. And told him that he must have gone through a lot of shit in school and asked if he was right and wanted Gilsoo de-stress right there. And it was a school where everyone was equal in the face of violence, the six-gate fighting arena. And he was really staggered and asking himself about everyone's equal in the face of violence. And Jang told him that he doesn't like complex shit, and he will not gonna repeat himself, and wanted him to listen closely. And explain the rules, and the rule number 1, only students of 6 gates high were allowed entry there. And entry was not allowed after graduation, dropping out, or expulsion. Rule number 2, all fights will be one-on-one and without weapons, a third person is not allowed no matter what. And rule number 3, the Student Guidance Council will act as referee for the fights, and they were the ones to decide the end of any fight. And then suddenly a guy arrived and said that there he was. And also asked where he had been, and Gilsoo remembered that it was the guy from earlier. And told him to come up there and they will have a fight to make up for the cleaning fee. Jang was really shocked and said that he already had an opponent and told him to learn as he goes. Gilsoo was so scared and he wanted to go home, but Jang told him that their rule number 4 was that any kind of violence was banned outside of the fighting arena, and any kind of negative feelings he had towards someone will be resolved in the arena. And it was their important rule and told him not to be scared and just to have fun. He was inside the ring now and he was asking himself about him enjoying a fight, and his daily routine used to be getting beaten up. Plus against someone like him, and his 3 years of experience as a bullying victim was telling him that he needed to get out there. Everybody was yelling and shouting for the battle, and this guy said that Gilsoo was really unlucky to be picked by Kang In-hee on his first day. And the other asked if Kang In-hee was famous and thought that he was a first-year student. And the guy answered that it was Jang's younger brother, and he heard it came to their school that year. The guy asked Gilsoo if he was not going to come and he was going to give him a handicap because it was his first time. Gilsoo was saying in his mind that he was so scared and his body won't move and was asking why he was fighting him all of a sudden. Then suddenly the guy told him that if won't come then he will. And so the guy was running towards him and Gilsoo was shaking for fear and told the guy to go away. And then suddenly everyone was shocked and the guy was full of vomit in his body, and the guy was so vexed. Gilsoo was still vomiting and crying and asked himself how can someone like him, who has never rebelled in his life once hit someone else, and said that he cannot do it. The night ends and the day comes, these two guys were having a conversation and the guy on the right side said that he didn't go to the fighting arena yesterday. But he heard it was insane, and the other guy was laughing and said that say less and he should have seen it. And Gilsoo was on the toilet and listening to them and he was saying to himself that he was screwed and he thought that it was a normal school. And he was thinking about the fighting arena and still he can't forget about having fun, and he couldn't even extend his arm and something like yesterday was going to happen again on that day. In their classroom his classmate Jang was doing 1,000 push-ups with his 2 classmates on the back. Gilsoo was still asking if Jang was really a high schooler, and then suddenly Jang asked what it was and if there was what he wanted to say. And Gilsoo answered that he had something he wanted to ask him regarding the fighting arena. Jang asked him what it was and if he developed another skill other than vomiting, and everybody was looking at him and he answered that it was not that. He wanted to say that he can't go to the fighting arena from now on and everybody was shocked and Jang asked him why and he wasn't injured yesterday. Gilsoo said that he was not hurt, but he doesn't have the confidence to fight a person and he doesn't want to hit anyone and he doesn't find it fun. Suddenly Jang held him in his head and what he just said means he can beat him up as much as he likes from now on and asked him if he was right. Gilsoo was asking what Jang meant and Jang announced to everyone as the school president that the first-year student Lee Gilsoo will not be protected by the fighting arena from now on. The next day, he was on his table thinking and asking about being protected by the fighting arena and what is that about. And suddenly a guy arrived in their classroom and said that he heard about it that the transferee was not coming to the fighting arena anymore and it was the guy from yesterday. And then suddenly the guy dragged his face on the table and said that he will slowly teach him what that means in their school. And said that he was actually in need of a slave then laughed at him. He was hurt but everyone was busy chatting with each other and ignoring what was happening. Gilsoo was being struck with the guy's knee and said that it was a good knee strike, and the other guy said that he heard that he came there because he got beat up at his previous school. And the guy said that he knew it when he started beating him up. He was able to understand what the fighting arena's protection was right away, and if he didn't participate, it meant he became the only student for whom violence was allowed. And his hell has started once again. At the staff room he was talking with someone and asked him if he were going to drop out, and it had only been a week. And he said that he was already preparing for the exam and that was more important to him. And the man said that it was okay, and if that's what he wanted, then it can't be helped. He was saying in his mind that he did everything he could and he felt sorry for his mom and dad for being such a worthless son. Now his horrific school life has ended, starting tomorrow, and he will live normally. Jang saw him and he was being asked why he wasn't fighting and wanted him to tell what the hell was the problem. And he just said sorry, and someone who was crazy about fighting can't possibly understand how he felt. And he told Jang that he had trauma from violence, he was bullied severely in his previous school and now he had reached his limit and he just wanted to give up. And he had done what he could do, and then suddenly Jang grabbed him on his shoulder and asked what, and that he was more pathetic than he thought. And Jang asked him who told him that he needed to fight like a pro and he doesn't need skills like that. And told him that if he doesn't have teeth, he can use his gums, and if he doesn't have the strength, then he can use his gut, and that's what fighting was about. And he was asking Jang what he was saying all of a sudden. Jang held him and asked why he doesn't even want to protect himself, and does he think the outside world's all sunshine and butterflies if he drops out and goes there. And Jang told him that he will not, and he will just remain a loser his entire life. While he was walking home, Kong and his companion saw him and said that he heard that he will not be coming to school starting tomorrow, and how can he just drop out without telling them. And Gilsoo was asking himself how did they know, and Kong came closer to him and told him that if he left, then who was going to his sandbag. And said additionally that ever since that bastard Jang Chung created the fighting arena, he had never slaved, then laughed. And asked him if he thought everything would stop if he dropped out, and Kong wanted him to follow. He was beaten up and he was thinking that he was going to die and told them to stop. Kong told him that he should be glad, and if it were the 6 gates high when his brother was around, he would really die. And told him that he lives in such a nice place and said that it was Unit 1105, Building 604, Jua Apartments, Mangu City. And they will come over to his home and they will see each other often since he doesn't participate in the fighting arena, and laugh at him. And Gilsoo was asking what the guys were doing and what they were planning to do with his address. Kong told his companion to hold still Gilsoo and he will take a photo of him and he will send it to everyone. Gilsoo was asking why they were doing it to him and what he did wrong. He thought everything was going to end, that painful hell he thought he would escape. And he was asking what the hell was happening and what he did to get out of the hell he was suffering. Then he remembered Jang told him and it made him angry and slapped Kang's phone away. Then he suddenly bit Kang's hand and it hurt, and then Kong beat him in his face and he was thrown away. And he asked Kong if it was hurt, and told them that if he was going to die, he would drag them down with him. Then he suddenly ran away, not to escape but to tell everyone that he would join the fighting arena and screw them up. Gilsoo and Kong were inside the ring and this guy with a tattoo said that it should be him, not Kong, beating Gilsoo out of that nerd, and the guy was Park Yongo, the number 2 in Kong in his gang. And suddenly the guy beside him said to keep his voice down because they were not alone and they always have to be careful. Gilsoo was being beaten so much by Kong, and was being asked if he thought he would be able to do something if he fought him one-on-one. Then struck Gilsoo with his punch and said those pathetic losers and their delusions, and kicked Lee in the chin. He laughed at Gilsoo and asked how it was and if he regretted it now, wouldn't he? Lee was staring at him with his eyes high. Kong slapped him in the face and said that if he were a loser, act like one and stay down. And asked what he thought things would unfold like some scene in a webtoon. And Gilsoo was being beaten up again and crashed inside the ring, and everybody was shocked and said that Kong Inhee was as intense as they say, and was asking if Gilsoo was dead. Gilsoo was trying to stand up and Kong was really shocked and said that Gilsoo should have been knocked out by that just now. And he told Gilsoo not to try to act tough, because if he pushed any further, he might actually kill him. Gilsoo said to kill him because with just that was nothing compared to the pain he had endured until now. Then he dragged Kong inside the ring and Kong was thinking that he thought Gilsoo would give up for sure, but he caught him off guard. Gilsoo tried to beat Kong but he failed, because Kong punched him in a sudden and asked when he was gonna hit him with those slow punches, then laughed at him. Gilsoo told him if he doesn't have the strength he will use his sheer willpower to beat him. Then Gilsoo bumped his head on Kang's mouth and Kong was hurt. Jang was looking at them and saying in his mind that even if the adrenaline was dulling the pain, Gilsoo must have taken quite a bit of damage, and thinking that Lee definitely got some resilience. Then abruptly Kong kicked Gilsoo away and he was asking if he had a death wish. Gilsoo still stood up and asked what all there was to them, the gang was terrified of, and if that was all they had to show for in the fighting arena. Everybody was shouting for Lee Gilsoo and Lee was running towards Kong, and Kong actively uppercut him and said sorry, but he was not letting him catch him off guard anymore. And Lee got knocked out and Kong wins the fight. He was lying and he was asking where he was and did he faint. And said that even so, he did it. He never even thought he would win in the first place, he just charged in, hoping to land a hit on that bastard. He did everything he could, but at that time, if he had gone in a bit more calmly instead of rushing. And he was asking if he wouldn't have ended so quickly, or should he have targeted his lower body like he did at the start. And he wouldn't have fallen unless he had his guard down, but if he was just a bit stronger, and then suddenly Jang checked him and asked him if he were feeling more clear-headed now. He was shocked and suddenly asked if he was still there because of me. And Jang answered that as the student council president, it was his duty to look after a student who had passed out. And the arena isn't a place to beat someone to death, and it was actually a place to protect students. And told him that he knew it was only for today and asked him if he was right. And told him that starting tomorrow, he was not allowed inside since he was not a 6 Gates High student. And suddenly Gilsoo said that he will take care of it and asked what he needed to do. Jang was shocked and Gilsoo said that he was not going to drop out and pleaded to tell him what to do. Because he wants to be stronger too, Jang feels great about it and said that to train a weak student was also a duty of the student council president. And he was being asked if he was ready and suddenly beat him that hard. And Jang asked him how it felt and if it was like he was going to die. And told him that it was just the beginning and he will make him able to bear those punches. In the beginning, he just happened to be in the way of a flying slipper. First year of middle school, the slipper incident was that exposed him as a weakling. He became a weakling who couldn't even protect himself. However, he is not gonna live that life anymore. While he was walking to school, he was asking how hard Jang punched him and he felt like Jang broke something. And suddenly his friend called him and said that he thought he was gonna quit. And he answered that he changed his mind and his friend guessed that he liked the fighting arena. While they were walking up the staircase, he saw Kong staring at him. Kong stepped down the stairs and said to him that he didn't expect him to come back and asked him if he wanted to get revenge, then laugh at him. And suddenly told him that he should know his place and he might actually kill him next time. Gilsoo was so vexed and said to himself that he was going to be strong, so that he wouldn't ever lose to bastards like Kong Inhee. Jang and Gilsoo were in training and Jang told him to keep his eyes open and not to be scared and to look right at his fist. And he was not allowed to fight until their training was over. They trained like that at the school's rooftop for several days. Though, all that happened was one-sided beating. At the arena, Kong was having a fight with the guy and he won against it. The students were chatting about Kong and they said that he's been merciless ever since he fought Lee Gilsoo. A bet Kang's ego was hurt. And said that who knows what the results could be if he bashed his head into him, and Kong Inhee's weakness was headbutting. And suddenly Kong called the guy and told him if he were confident, and asked why don't he fight him. Kong asked his companion if they saw Gilsoo on that day and his companion answered that they haven't seen Gilsoo around and they haven't seen him during breaks and they don't think Gilsoo has been coming there either. Then Kong remembered something and said that he had an idea, a way to beat up some loser. In this place Gilsoo was taking some runs and asking if he could really become stronger with Jang training method. And suddenly said that it was not enough and he was going to become strong much faster. And then suddenly a big bike was arriving in the place and the big bike hit him in the arm. And it was a guy and told him that since he scratched his big bike, he thinks that they need to have a discussion. And said additionally that his beloved bike was destroyed and he thought it was about to cost about 5 million won to repair and he was gonna need to pay up. Gilsoo was really shocked and asked how he was supposed to give him that much money out of nowhere, and told the guy that he was the one who bumped into him. The guy came near to him and asked what he just said, then pulled his hair and told him that he looked like a loser. And thinking that Gilsoo would scam him, then he beat Gilsoo in the face and the guy's companion was laughing at him. Gilsoo gets angry and asks himself why he was not scared at all, then the thing comes into his mind and it was because he had been getting beaten up by Jang all the time. He removed the guy's hand and punched it in the face and said that why would he give someone like him money? And strongly told the guy that he was not scared anymore. Then he was suddenly shocked when the guy removed his fist and asked if it was supposed to be a punch. And his punch didn't work at all to the guy. He was so vexed and asking what to do now. He had never learned about damage and all he had learned was how to get hit. The guy hit him and the guy's companion held him up. The guy got a brass knuckles and told his companion to hold tight Gilsoo and it will get his act together once he gets beaten up and realizes that he was out of place for no reason, then laughed at him. He was going to beat Gilsoo and told it to clench his teeth, then abruptly a guy arrived and hit the bastard using his knee. Gilsoo was really shocked and it was his new friend saving him. Then his friend Jean smiled at him and beat all the companions of the guy. Gilsoo was amazed and said that his friend was strong and he thought he was just a normal guy and asked if his new friend was always that strong. The girl was so angry and asked them too if they knew who they were, and said that they were the strongest first years of Jinsang Technical High School and if they will tell their upperclassmen, they were done for. And suddenly the guy told the girl to stop and said that bringing those guys won't do a thing and look at his clothes, that was from 6 gates high. And so the guy helped his companion up and said that he thought the guy was being weird, but it looks like they messed with the wrong person and his companion said that if he knew the guy was 6 gates high, he wouldn't have touched him. Then they leave the place. His friend asked him how he got involved with bastards like them. They were talking and his friend was really shocked when he said that he gets special training from Jang Chung. And his friend was really surprised and asked him about the fighting arena. And he answered that he was, but it looks like he was still weak, so he was doing stamina training on his own when he met those bastards. And suddenly they were laughing talking about how he threw his hand in the air. Kang's companion was asking if he had a way to deal with that loser and what he meant by that. And the other one asked if he could find a way to get rid of the fighting arena or something, and Kang answered no, that loser just shot himself in the foot. And he said that the first in the entire school openly say no to the fighting arena. As long as you have arms and legs, anyone, be it a bully or a loser, can fight in the arena. A place where everyone was equal in the face of violence, and that 6 gates high's fighting arena. They may boast about it as if it was great and all, but what if they take a good look at it? They will find there are cowards who only enjoy watching others fight but never fight themselves. The loser's mindset was still that of a loser. And the guy with red hair said that it was true, and those guys never get into fights, like at all. And the guy beside him said that they hid behind rules and had a comfortable time at school. And Kang said that, but the idiot who exposed that was the transfer student, Lee Gilsoo. And asking what they think will happen if they challenge those losers who hid behind the rules to fight now. And the man replied that they would think they had to fight at all costs to avoid becoming Lee Gilsoo. And Kang said that exactly, and the fighting arena now was their playground. The next day, Kang was in the arena and Jang was glaring at him. Kang was asking why and if there was a problem, and he doesn't think that he broke any rules. Jang tapped his shoulder and told him that he would better not put on a pointless show of bravado, and Kang just smiled and said sorry for causing a commotion and he will be more careful next time, and he was leaving. At the rooftop, Jang on Gilsoo was on training, and Gilsoo was being hit with every punch that Jang releases. And he was telling in his mind that he felt like he was going to die. Then he blocked the attack of Jang and said that still he was not scared as he used to be. Jang was amazed and told him that it looks like he was getting used to punches, and Gilsoo tried to punch back but Jang fortunately dodged it. And he was telling in his mind that right in the end, if he was to win he had to hit Jang. He was going to beat Jang, and he shouted so loud and Jang punched him and told him to not make weird sounds when attacking, because he looked like a damn loser. He was coughing and Jang just hit him way harder than usual, and Jang told him that it was 1-2. And if he just masters 1-2, he can win any fight. They went to the arcade club and Gilsoo said that it was so old and asked why they were there. And when he opened the door he was shocked when he saw a punching machine. And Jang was ready to teach him and said that he needed to raise both his fists to his chin, and tuck his chin in. And to stand with his feet shoulder-width apart, and move lightly on his feet. Throw the one lightly with his front hand, for the two put his weight into it, rotate his hips, and punch it. And Gilsoo was really shocked and said that Jang's punch sounded like a damn gunshot. And this time he will be trying it. He throws the one lightly, then puts his weight into it, and then he punches the punching machine and he gets the hang of it. And he was staggered when he saw that the score was the same as before, and then Jang punched it hard and said that those weak punches won't do shit. And told Gilsoo that the machine had been broken for a long time, so it doesn't work without precise impact. And he needs to hit hard enough for the machine to register the punch, then only will it be proved that he can deal damage to his opponent. Jang told him to find his own form and don't show up in front of him until he gets that score. This guy was walking in the hallway of the school and his girlfriend texted him and he was asking why his girlfriend was acting like that again. Saying that his girlfriend was fine when they hung out yesterday. And all of a sudden someone bumped into him and he said sorry and he didn't see him. And abruptly another one pushed him intentionally and his phone fell on the fall and the edge of it got broken. And the guy said sorry and he didn't mean to bump into him and they were Kang's companions. The guy was asking if they did it on purpose, and the guy answered that he just made a mistake and asked what was that look on his face. And the guy came closer to him and said that if he had a problem they would settle it in the arena. But the guy was just glaring and abruptly said that no and it was his fault. The Kang's companion was laughing at him and those students were just looking at them, and the guy said that just in case there were any misunderstandings that wasn't school violence, that was a mistake where he bumped into him, and be more careful next time. Gilsoo's friend helped the guy that was being bullied and asked what was with that bastard and if they did it on purpose and they should report it to the student guidance council. But the guy insisted and said no and they will just leave it, and Gilsoo's friend said that it was not worth making a huge deal out of it. In the canteen Gilsoo was eating, telling in his mind that he had been punching that machine all through his break. No matter how much he ate, he was still hungry. And he must have punched it 100 times, but the score was still the same and he was asking just how much harder he had to hit. While he was eating someone said to watch out and it was Kang's companion again and he poured all the food on the tray on Gilsoo's head. And said sorry, he hasn't seen him around much lately and suddenly asked where he disappeared to every break. And tapped his back that hard and said that he missed him so much, and tapped his back many times and said that it was good to see him after so long. Then he laughed. He was asking if Gilsoo felt the same, but Gilsoo suddenly stood up and held the guy's hand and he was a little bit shocked. And he just smiled and said that their deal Gilsoo had learned to resist now too, and it was even cuter when angry. Gilsoo was so annoyed and asked himself what he should do, and remembered Jang said to him that he was banned from the arena until he was done with the training. Jang told him not to, but with things coming to that, he doesn't have a choice. He had trained so hard, and all of a sudden someone threw his tray of food and told them to shut up because he was eating. And that tray of food was thrown away on the guy's face and he was hurt. Gilsoo's friend said that they say he shouldn't even bother a dog when he was eating, and the guy was asking who was that bastard and Gilsoo was really shocked. And Gilsoo's friend told the guy that he should know his limits and call it a bastard. The guy was so vexed and asked Gilsoo's friend if it was crazy and if he wanna die. Gilsoo's friend said sorry to the guy and said that it wasn't the school of violence. And he told the guy that his hand just slipped. Then he was laughing, and strongly told the guy that he wanted to fight him anyway, so it was good. And he wanted the guy to come into the arena today and he would educate him properly. Jean was washing his hands and Gilsoo came closer and said sorry. Jean was laughing and asked Gilsoo what he was talking about, and he didn't act out because of him. Although it did look like he was targeting him, he didn't have any intentions of fighting for him and he had been wanting to educate Kang in his gang for a while now. And he said additionally that he can't stand them acting up in the fighting arena, and Gilsoo was asking what he was talking about. Jean sat down on the bench and told Gilsoo that he must not know because he hasn't been there in a while, and Gilsoo was asking if something happened. Jean answered that those bastards had been unilaterally choosing the weak, assaulting them in the fighting arena, saying they have absurd negative emotions within them and fighting out of nowhere. And when they get scared, they use the fact that he refused to participate in the fighting arena and, well, he didn't have an opportunity to fight them, so that was good, and he can't stand watching the fighting arena get messed up like that. Gilsoo, listening to Jean, was so vexed and suddenly asked Jean why he wanted to protect the fighting arena, and if he was that strong, he doesn't think it matters whether the fighting arena exists or not, and asked if he had a reason. Jean answered that he had a dark period like him once. He was fat and shy when he was younger and he got bullied severely since middle school. That hell was so dark, he thought it would be better to just die. Then one day, someone saved him from that hell. It turned out he was the director of a nearby boxing gym. After that, He tried boxing for the first time and got obsessed with the sport like crazy. And that's how boxing transformed him. After his transformation, nobody could bother him again like before. Even the bastards who posed as gangsters were actually nothing at all when he faced them. And Gilsoo was really amazed and asked if really Jin was being bullied. Jin stood up and said that although the rules of the fighting arena that Jang Chung created were a bit excessive, he likes that he can fight with his own power without getting suppressed by the fear of getting ganged up on. That's why he wants to keep it so much, and just watch how he wrecks that bastard, Park Yango. They were already in the fighting arena, and Park told Jin that he didn't know he got the guts to ask him out for a fight, but he will show what a stupid decision egging him on was. And Jin was teasing Park and asked if he was there to fight with words and to stop yapping and they will start the fight. Park smiled and said that he sure was raring to go and called Jin a bastard. Everybody was yelling and Gilsoo was saying a good luck to Jin on his mind, and the fight already started. Park releases a punch and Jin fortunately dodge it, and every one of his punches Jin dodge it. Jin released his punch and Park was beaten up, and the guy outside the corner was really shocked and said that Jin was so fast, and the other guy said that Jin's reaction speed was no joke either. Park was really shocked and said in his mind that Jin was faster than he expected. And he was asking if Jin's martial art was boxing, and he noticed that Jin's footworks was pretty good. Jin was punching him rapidly and he was dodging all the punches and saying that Jin was fast, but his punches were weak as hell, and he was a bit surprised. And thinking that he was stronger, and so he punched Jin on the right side of the shoulder, and Jin replied a punch too, but Park going in on Jin, but he failed because Jin was the first one uppercut him and saying that Jin did that on purpose to lure him in. Everybody was yelling and Gilsoo was really shocked and said that Jin was so strong and Park hadn't even landed a single blow on him. The guy on his back was asking his friend if Jin always been that string, and his friend answered that Park Yango's winning streak is going to break at that rate. And Gilsoo was listening to them and asking if Park Yango was undefeated. Park Yango was trying to beat up Jin again, but he can't land a single blow, and Jin told him that his jabs aren't landing and asked if he thinks his wide attacks will. Jin punches Park Yango on the face and it crushes inside the ring. Jin was smiling and asked Park Yango after all that shit, that was all he got and if he was that weak, but kept going around starting fights with others. And told Park Yango to stop messing with the fighting arena. And Park notices that Kong was looking at him and he suddenly smiled and said to his mind not to worry and he won't lose. He spit out and stood up and said to Jin that he will admit that he was better than him at boxing and he will go at it properly now. And Park Yango raised his right leg and wanted Jin to come at him, and Jin was asking himself if Park Yango was planning on using a kick, and so he ran forward and said sorry, but he can kick too. But he was shocked when he kicked Park Yango, did not dodge, and he was asking why does it feel sturdy. Park Yango released a punch and Jin actively put some distance between them first. Park was asking where he was going and he was kicking again and something like that, he can block with his arm. And his left arm was being hit with Park Yango's kick and he was hurt. He was asking what's with that power, he blocked it but the damage was still, and Park Yango was attacking him again with a kick and he tried to block it with his hand but he was still hurt and beaten up. And everybody was really shocked, even Gilsoo. Park Yango was asking him what he was doing, and wanted Jin to come at him like earlier and if he was scared now. Jin was glaring at Park Yango and he was asking to his mind why his kicks were so strong and they were on another level compared to his punches. Park Yango was coming to attack again and Jin was thinking that with another kick it would be dangerous to get hit again. But Park Yango beat him on his face 3 times and Park Yango was really happy that his punches were landing. Jin was saying in his mind that he was so worried about his kicks that he couldn't react properly, and Park Yango said that he told him not to mess up the fighting arena and who he thought he was. And all of a sudden Park Yango's kicked him in his legs and he was hurt, thinking that his legs gave out. He was kneeling on the ground and Park Yango was going to kick him in the face again, but the referee told him to stop. And told him that if his opponent was no longer in condition to fight, going further will be deemed a foul, and the referee was a third-year student council member Hyo Gunhang. Park Yango said that they just got started and he was stopping him now, but that was fun for the first time in a while. And said additionally that maybe that's why some kids haven't seen in a while were there, and he was looking to Gilsoo and said that the fighting arena will become even more fun in the future and wanted Gilsoo to come often. Gilsoo was helping Jean to go home and he was asking if it hurt a lot, and Jean answered more than the pain. He was pissed that he lost. Now he just raised the confidence of the bastards who were causing chaos in the fighting arena. Gilsoo told him that he was definitely winning in the beginning, but because of Park Yango's kick suddenly, and Jean said that Park Yango's kick was much stronger than he expected strangely enough, and he was asking just what was that. And they were already at Jin's home and he said thank you to Gilsoo for supporting him, and he must be tired. And he offered some water before he went and Gilsoo said no and he had somewhere to go. And Jean was asking where he was going at that hour, and then Gilsoo was running away and then said some goodbye. And Jean was thinking and asking where Gilsoo was going in such a rush. The next morning at the school a group of students was giving him a pair of shoes and he was asking why they were bringing that and it was useless. And the student answered that but still his gang accepted them and they wanted to show their appreciation. And Kong In-hee was thinking for him, he cared more about talent than appreciation, and the student said that it was a talent, there was no problem for them. And Kong replied to the students to do their best from now on, and all of the sudden Park Yango said that he didn't think Lee Gilsoo came to school today. Kong stood up on his chair and asked what Lee Gilsoo was about, and Park Yango answered and asked, isn't it time to beat Gilsoo up now? Kong held his shoulder and said no. The situation changed thanks to him, and Park Yango was a little bit speechless with it, and Jang already wore the pair of shoes that the student gave to him. While they were walking beside the street, Kang's companion said that by beating Jean, they proved their strength properly. And those who thought they were weaker than him were now super scared. And Park Yango laughed and said that of course they would be. Kong said that now, if they touch bastards like Lee Gilsoo, it will only ruin their reputation. And his companion was asking what they should do now, and should they spread flyers around the fighting arena to join their gang. And Kong answered no, since they beat the first years as planned, it was time to move to the next step. And they saw the group of students that were playing cards in the corner. This guy was a third-year student, Sun Sequo, and he was asking Kong who they were. Kong answered that they came because they wanted to meet them all, and Sun Sequo laughed and said that he had nothing to say to the first-year bastard, and the small-timers, where he thought this was. Kong came closer and said that they must seem like small-timers in his eyes, since he was the member of the legendary generation of his brother. And Sun Sequo was really shocked and asked if his mind was that bastard's younger brother. Kong smiled and told him that now he had been pushed aside by Jang Chung, he was hiding away like senior citizens. Sun Sequo gets annoyed and chokes Kong and asks what he was talking about, and says that it was because he was disappointed, since then it was such a lonely fight. Kong replied to him not anymore, and the situation had changed, and Sun Sequo was thinking about it. On the rooftop of the school, Jang was talking with the student council Hyo, and said that they need to take measures in the fighting arena. Watching them abuse the rules like that will shake the entire foundation of the fighting arena, and they can't just watch the first year's immature actions any further. And that bastard asked Jang he knew he was Kong Han-hee's young brother. Jang took a walk and answered that even if they had abused them, the rules were rules, and Hyo was shocked and asked if he was saying to just watch right now. Jang said that even if he intervened and resolved the situation, and asked Hyo will the fighting arena be the same as before. Hyo couldn't answer and just stared, and all of a sudden Lee Gilsoo called him on the phone. Gilsoo was at that old gaming club, he was sitting on the floor, and Jang arrived and said that he was sure he told him not to contact him until he racked up some points, and he asked Gilsoo if he had already given up. And Gilsoo answered that's why he called him, and Jang was really shocked when he saw that the punching machine was full of blood and reached the total point. And Lee Gilsoo told him to teach him the next lesson, and Jang smiled and said that it was faster than he expected. Gilsoo said that he had no choice, he had no time to dawdle in a place like that. Jang said it was nice, then they will move on to the next training, and wanted him to prepare himself because it will be much harder. And all of a sudden Gilsoo kneeled in front of him, said that yes, rest was also a part of training. The following night, Park Yango was on the fighting arena and was asking if that was all, it's not even half of who usually comes. Then he was laughing. And he was asking if they were all scared. And all of a sudden someone got inside the ring and asked who was scared, and guessed he needed to educate the first year who had no respect. And he was the second year student council member Choi Seokwon. Park Yango was really shocked and he was sweating and nervous. Choi told him that he had hated that dragon tattoo on his arm since the first time he saw it, and that was a good enough reason for them to fight. And he had been picking fights over dumb reasons like that all along. Hyo was looking at the corner and telling himself they can't just watch anymore, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. And all of a sudden someone opened the door and asked what's up with the atmosphere, and he heard the rumors that the fighting arena was fun these days, so he came to visit, but now he saw a second year trying to fight a first year. And asked if he needed to spice things up a bit, and it was Sun Sequo and his companions. Hyo walked forward and told Sun Sequo how dare he come there, and Sun Sequo answered that he came to the fighting arena to fight, and he was a Six Gates High School student too. And Hyo got vexed and said to cut the crap, and asked Sun Sequo who caused that incident to come to the fighting arena to fight. Sun Sequo answered to forget what happened in the past and enjoy it, and all of a sudden Kong arrived and asked why he was acting so stiff. And there were less people there, so it was nice to meet new people and ask, don't he think? Hyo was glaring at Kong and Kong was asking why and was he really scared. This construction site, Gilsoo was walking around and he was asking what kind of training Jang was trying to do in such an obscure place. It was so gloomy and he felt like a ghost would come out, and all of a sudden Jang arrived and told him that he had found his way properly. And Gilsoo was thinking and asking just what kind of training, and Jang asked him if he had heard about the Six Gates High School of the past, and Gilsoo asked what about it. Jang said that the high schools in the Jungyung area once battled for the title of the strongest. The school that won with an overwhelming victory was Six Gates High School. After Six Gates dominated this territory, the other schools scattered to their own territories. And Gilsoo was asking himself what does that have to do with today's training, and all of a sudden Jang told him where he was standing right now was the territory of the Jinsang Technical High Bastards. Although fights between schools don't occur anymore, if members of another school invade their territory, it will be treated as a clear provocation. And Gilsoo was really shocked, and abruptly Jang closed the gate and locked it. And told him that the gate on the other side was open, so try getting out with his own power. And Jang told him that there's no better experience than a real fight, and Gilsoo came forward to the gate shouting and asked Jang what he was doing. Gilsoo was so nervous, and then abruptly someone arrived and asked which bastard was talking so loudly in their territory. And Gilsoo was really shocked when the guy Jin beaten up in the past few days, got down on his bike and asked if he was the Six Gates loser. Then he remembered that the woman said that they were the strongest first years of Jinsang Technical High School, and Gilsoo knew he heard it somewhere. And the leader asked him if he knew that it was a different situation than before, and he was so happy to see him there. And said additionally that he must be fearless to come there on his own, and told him that he was dead today. The guy held his head and he was being asked if he was already scared and laughed at him. But Gilsoo was standing still, and the guy noticed that Gilsoo was mumbling something, and told Gilsoo before he broke his jaw, if he had something to say it properly. Gilsoo raised his fists to his chin and pulled his chin all the way back. Legs are shoulder width apart, and his steps should be light. On the 1, punch with his upper hand lightly, and on the 2, put his weight on his front leg, and punch the guy that hard on the face, and the guy's companion was really shocked. The guy's mouth was bleeding, and Gilsoo said that it was nice and it works now. And back at the arena, student council Choi was being choked up with Sun Sequo, and he said that he was lost and let him live. Sun Sequo said that if he knew the fighting arena was that fun, he would have come earlier. He didn't know student council bastards were that weak. And all of a sudden someone gets inside the ring and told him don't go overboard, and it was Hyo. He told Sun Sequo that he should fight someone on his level before he starts bragging, and Sun Sequo replied, well, the two of them had a lot to hash out, don't they? And said what they should do, they were the only ones left. Hyo was looking around, even the few remaining students had left, the arena's rules were abused, and even Sun Sequo, who kept a low profile, showed up, so they probably left in the case they got picked on. And Kong In-hee asked Sun Sequo if he really wanted to fight, why don't they schedule a fight somewhere proper, not the fighting arena? And the empty fighting arena he doesn't have to protect anymore. And Hyo was really annoyed, and Sun Sequo wanted him to listen carefully to tell Jang that they will fight somewhere real, not this child's playground. And the other guy was running forward to attack Gilsoo and asked how dare he swing his fists in their territory and punch Gilsoo on the left face, and Gilsoo told him that fists from bastards like him don't hurt at all. Then he replied and punched, and the guy was thrown away, and the other guy was coming to attack and asked where he thought he was, but Gilsoo punched him in the face and he was thrown away and crashed on the ground. And the guy was asking what the hell was that bastard and if he was the same person as last time. The woman pointed at him and asked if he knew what he had just done, and all of the sudden more men came out, and the guy on the front asked why was there some kid from 6 gates there, and he should just take him out. Gilsoo was really shocked and asked how many of them were there, and it would be impossible to fight them head on and he had to come up with something. And the woman fiercely asked if he got it now and if he was ready to get curb stomped. And all of the sudden he got the bike, and the woman was really shocked and told him to get down there. Gilsoo was saying in his mind that if he can't fight them directly, he will have to use a tool, then he will try to drive the bike, and he was shocked when it was harder to drive than he thought. Everybody was laughing at him because he was struggling to drive it, but Gilsoo jumped down to the bike and the man on the front was being bumped with it. And he told them did he say he was going to ride it. Then he ran forward and told the guy to get out of the way, and he was running to escape. While he was running, he was thinking that if he fought those bastards one-on-one, he could win, and he never thought he would miss the fighting arena. Then he suddenly holds on and comes up with something. He gets inside the building and those men are following him, and he tools them to come up there and fight him. The guy said that he must have hit his head while he was running for his life, and told Gilsoo that there was nowhere left for him to run. The guy ran up and Gilsoo punched the face, and the other guy also, and all of them tumbled down to the stairs. Gilsoo was saying in his mind that in a narrow staircase, he can fight them one by one, and he had the high ground so it was easier for him to fight. And looks like they have lost some momentum. If he can just beat those guys, he will be able to leave. And all of a sudden someone threw a bowl of noodles on his head and kicked him down the stairs. And it was their senior, and the man said that he was eating black bean noodles, and a 6 gates uniform appeared in his sight. And Gilsoo was hurt and he didn't think someone was on the floor above. He tried to stand up and attack the man, but he failed and the man kicked him in his face, and Gilsoo said that the man's strength was on a different level from all the other bastards. The man told his companion that he will give them 10 minutes to beat Gilsoo's ass and then bring him to him. And all the guys were attacking Gilsoo, and the man was walking down the stairs and said that he wasted a bowl of noodles because of that bastard, and wanted his companion to finish it in 5 minutes. Gilsoo was being beaten up so much, and he was telling in his mind that only one bastard came out, but because of that guy, these bastards got their courage back, and he was thinking that fighting these guys won't get him anywhere. He was still beaten up, and the man was listening and said that those new first years aren't trustworthy at all. It takes all of them to barely deal with a loser like that. And he was really shocked, and Gilsoo said that he didn't even need 5 minutes and bumped his head on the man's head and he tumbled down the stairs. And the man was really vexed and told his companion to catch that bastard. Gilsoo was running away and got out of the building and said that he finally made it out, and now he just has to make it to the rear entrance. And he finally saw the rear gate and he was running away to get out, but all of a sudden another motorcycle was coming and the guy stopped in front of him. And asked if it was him, wasn't it, the one who beat up his little cutie, and he really can't believe it that they lost a loser like him. The man said to wait and told him that he was kind of cute too and he likes cute things like him. And he was Jinsang Technical High School boss, Hwang Hyukjin. And the boss was walking forward to him, and Gilsoo was asking in his mind, dragging someone behind him on a motorcycle, and what's up with that psycho bastard? And those guys following him arrived too. The boss told his men that it looks like they lost to him too and to wait a moment and he will give them some love too. The man said that they will be the one to take care of the bastard, and the boss told them not to touch his prey, and all of them were frightened, and Gilsoo was glaring at the boss and asking if it was the boss of Jinsang Technical High School. It was shorter than him and less muscular than Jang, and he might be able to take him. And he was going to attack because he doesn't want to waste some time, and Jang told him that the 1-2 combo works on any opponent. First he released a jab with the left, but the boss dodged it and told him that he was so cute, coming at him first. And he lifted up Gilsoo and dragged on the ground and told Gilsoo that he can't pass out yet and they will play a little more, then dragged Gilsoo again to the ground. And Gilsoo was thinking that he was going to die, the guy was laughing and said that it serves him right and asked why would he come there and try to mess things up, but the senior told him to shut his mouth because after their boss was done, it was their turn. That's all for today, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. Until next time.